Uh, Tonight we're looking at a very interesting beer. This is the 40th anniversary of this rather remarkable beer, and it's called Anchor Liberty Ale. And
yeah.
so far, now we probably, I can't say that word, we're probably going to have some other people joining in, but I'm down in Louisiana with Louisiana Beer Reviews. We have Maria Devon, the girl next door in New York.
Hi.
And she doesn't usually join us at night because, A, she's not really a person that drinks beer at night, and secondly, most of the beers we examine, she's not interested in looking at.
Now, who said that? You're surmising. I surmise. Sometimes you have a beer that I'm not interested in, but mostly it's the nighttime, and it's because, Jay, honestly, a lot of the beers that you look at, I can't get in a single.
Oh, okay. So I apologize for that. I just
thought it
was stuff you weren't particularly interested in. But and if you weren't, that wouldn't be a problem. But you were really excited about some of the ones we have coming up, like the Anchor Liberty and the Bigfoot. You said possibly in the Old Stock Ale.
All stuff I can get in singles at the local shop. I can pick a single one of each one of them. Now I didn't get a single of this one. I actually bought it.
Excellent.
It looks very, very, very sediment rich in the bottle. That's what I'm sort of staring at. A lot of stuff floating around in it.
Yeah, now we have Eric from New England in Massachusetts.
Hola.
With Massachusetts Beer Reviews, and now Zone 1 just clicked in. That's John Sharon of Indiana.
Early?
Early? It's 6.
No, we just got going.
It's 4 minutes after the...
Just got going.
Yeah, we just got going.
I'm going to grab a beer real quick, Ed.
All right. Now...
This is going to be one to swirl 2/3 into the bottle. Definitely.
Do you get that, Maria? Are you getting that sediment?
Well, I first of all want to say that I happen to really like this beer, but I want you to know right off the bat that I have an issue with this beer. You picked a very timely beer. Over on Beer Advocate, there's a thread. Is freshness dating important to the IPA? When's too long? This beer is dated March of this year, so it's 8 months old, and it's the perfect beer to examine what qualities fell off, which ones held on. So I've got an 8-month-old Liberty Ale.
Where do you see the dating on your beer bottle?
It's right there. It's on the back. It's like punched out in some kind of dots. Mine's 3.
Oh, that's the month. Oh.
Yeah, that's the month, day, and year.
You know, I've drank IPAs that's up to 2 years old. Right side by side, brand new IPAs are the same bottle, the same everything. And I'll tell you what, to me, they don't fall off. They don't taste any different. If anything, they taste better.
Well, I think you're going to be surprised at how much I like this beer for as many things as I'm going to say about it.
I drank hardcore IPA from Brewdog that was 5 years old. That's a really high alcohol beer, but it was still really intense. The hops were intense. Now, we're not recommending that people do that. Now, Liberty Ale, I'll read a few things real fast. It debuted in 1975, and it was the first modern American India Pale Ale. It's 5% alcohol, although this can that I have says 6%. That's not a big difference. 2-row pale barley malt, only one type of malt, 2-row pale, and the hops are single Cascade hops, and they dry hop it. And I think the ratings for it are quite good on.
So wait, one thing. So they use the same hops to dry hop as they used.
That's what it's saying.
Which is
Cascade in the boil and Cascade in the dry hop.
Correct.
That's what it says on the
on
the page. Now, I have a can. They had cans at Stein's Deli. I did not find bottles of this, so I've never had it out of a can. I bought 1 can for tonight and 1 can for my own solo examination. But
yeah, I've never seen cans of it, so
yeah, I was surprised, frankly. And there's also one called Double Liberty, and that's about an 8% Imperial IPA, which I know where I can buy that. I might go buy the 4-pack, and I believe it was $9.99 or $8.99.
That's a good price.
Yeah. They're showing, on the website, they're showing to drink this out of the infamous tumbler pint. which someone put an article out saying it's the worst glass ever to drink beer out of. But
Whatever.
interestingly, I was looking at two major brewing companies this past week, and they were showing their beers being served in tumbler pints.
Now, can I ask a pretty silly question here?
Of course.
Do you think, honestly, the beer's going to taste any different out of whatever glass you're going to drink it out of?
That's what the article said.
May make the aroma do something different, maybe.
I think a tulip glass would be good for this IPA, but they showed the tumbler pint, so that's what I picked. Although this is Lone Star.
Close enough.
Thank you, Paps, for sending me this glass, by the way, earlier this year. But look at this thick head, y'all. We're going to go to ladies first. So, Maria, what do you get in the appearance of this 5.9 or 6% depending beer?
This beer has a lovely appearance. It's your classic orangey amber. It's got a little haze in it from the dry hopping, but there's a beautiful stream of bubbles that are constantly rising, heading up the center of that to meet that moussey head that's going to last, cling, and leave lace. I mean, this beer's a looker. You look at it, it looks like a sweet little piece of candy. You just can't wait to get at it.
And what do you think, Eric?
I am again looking at it through this lamp over here. I'm getting lots of small particles in sediment. It kind of looks dusty in a way, to tell you the truth. But that's not off-putting to me. Again, it is that hazy orange, and it does have a pretty, actually, just about it's pretty creamy head actually. And I am getting some nice amount of lacing. It looks like it's going to be a good amount of lacing while you finish the beer. Yeah.
And I'll just add that everything you described, I would exactly agree, because that's exactly what I saw. And Maria, she talked about the lacing. I see that little fine particulate grit or matter.
Yeah.
Sediment. John?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty well seeing the same thing. I mean, it's got just a little bit of particulates in it. But overall, I mean, the lacing's fantastic on it. My head dissipated, I mean, not real quick, but I've still got just a little bit on it. But, I mean, you got bubbles streaming on it. I mean, it's definitely a hazy copper-looking color. But overall, I mean, the appearance of this beer right here is just overwhelming in my opinion. So,
Has everybody's had this beer before, I presume, huh?
I have not had it in over a year.
Last time I had this beer, I checked earlier, and it was 2011. Last time I had this beer.
4 years.
Yeah.
Not real familiar with the beer. Mm-mm.
Okay, so you haven't had it a lot. Now, let's go with the aroma, because it's kind of exciting. So, Maria, what do you think about the aroma from that two-row pale and those Cascade hops?
Well, I'll tell you what, my beer is the oldest beer, I think, in the group, so I can already tell. I'm not observing any evidence of dry hopping on this nose, but that doesn't mean it's a total wash. I'm getting a faint, malty, cracker-type scent from the nose, and I'll tell you what has held up remarkably well. There's a powerful floral. Like when you take a big inhale from this beer and you're looking for all that citric punch, well, it's softened and it's mellowed quite a bit, but there's a little grapefruit on it. It's not exactly juicy. It doesn't really have any bright citrus zest on it, but that floral is still there, and I can still discern grapefruit. So I'm thinking these hops held up pretty well.
What about you, Eric?
I'm getting a good amount of like a biscuity, yeasty kind of a barley malt kind of a scent on that. I'm also detecting the spice. There's a little bit of a spiciness from the hops, if you know what I mean by that. And I'm getting all those floral notes that Maria's talking about, and I'm getting just the lightest amount of like the actual flesh of a grapefruit and an orange. But I think it's pretty well balanced between it being fairly malty and having a nice hoppy background to the beer. It's pretty nice.
What do you think, John?
Well, I agree a lot with Eric. I mean, I think that the two-row malts, along with the citra hops, I think a well-balanced beer. I get all the grapefruits. The floral notes. But I believe I agree with a little bit with Eric. Somewhere in there's a little bit of biscuity tang to it. And that might be a little bit of the yeast. But overall, it's enjoyable tasting beer. You can't. I can't take nothing away from it.
Now, in the aroma, Eric was talking about kind of a spiciness, and I agree with that, Eric. It's like I guess hop resin. Hops are the spice.
There's a little bit to me also in that spice range. I'm getting the slightest amount of a black pepper spice. I don't know how many people that have tried saisons that may be watching the beer review channel, but it's kind of like a light black pepper you get in a saison beer almost. Just light.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it's definitely.
That's what I'm getting. I've got like a light remnant of spice. In the first beer of this that I tried from my 6-pack, I would have said I'm not tasting any spice. But now after listening to Eric talk about it, I think I am, and I would call it very, very faint. So put that on my list of things that have fallen off in the beer, right? I should be observing a bolder spice. Because he is, so I should be, but I'm not. I have practically none. Yeah, and I really have to look for it and imagine it to find it.
Yeah, it's faint. It's faint even in my beer, but you can detect it.
I don't know. I'm gonna do this comparison of this beer right here because it's been since 2011 since I've had this beer, and I actually had one earlier today that I didn't. I actually pulled it out of my refrigerator. It's been there since yesterday. Let it warm up a little bit, and I drank it this afternoon. I thought there's something about the citra hops in it. It may be this beer, but I didn't get all the aromas out of the hops that I did once this beer was warm. But I actually stuck one in my freezer for about 15 minutes before we started this, and I actually get more of the aromas out of the hops and out of the malts and a little bit of the yeast once this beer is really ice cold. But to put this beer against an award-winning beer right now, I would put this beer up against an Alpha King by Three Floyds. Just a little bit lower of a lighter standard to that. But I think if you put this, Eric, against the Alpha King, I don't know if you can get one or not, but if you can, try it. Put this just a little bit lower than a Three Floyds Alpha King.
Alpha King is considered like a pale ale, right?
Yeah.
Not an IPA, but they're similar. It's like a pale ale that could be an IPA.
Yeah, and now that you mentioned that, in having a couple of sips here, I think some brewers that call, Anchor calls this a IPA, and I think some other breweries might even consider it just a straight up pale ale, just a straight up American pale ale. It's not quite, to me, it's got a nice hot presence to the beer, but it's not front and center like slapping you around like this is definitely hopped, and remember, it's an IPA. It's more like a pale ale in style, which reminded me of almost like an English kind to me, at least.
But it's not quite to the Alpha King. If you've had one and you've had the other, but you've not had them for a long time, it would almost just put you right there at that point. And I know a lot of people's going to probably go, God, he's more.
Yeah.
Now, I thought the Alpha King maybe was a little more chewy.
Maybe a little bit more.
Now, let's go with the flavor. Now, Maria, since we're getting into it already, Maria, what are you picking up on the flavor? So we all said the spiciness, and I got a little bit of the juiciness and the white bread, the sweet white bread. But, yeah, I'm glad y'all said what you did just now because I'm thinking along the same lines as you. Now, Maria, the flavor, the most important part, right?
It is. It's the most important part. Well, I'll tell you what, that hop floral that I'm tasting, that is the bulk of my flavor. And it is the part of the hop that gives that attribute, succulence. Everyone thinks it's the fruity flavor that creates that perception of succulence, and I don't think so. From tasting this hop floral, I think it's that. It's got a sweetness of its own. There's like a tiny little bit of what I'm going to call cracker for malt. It's mostly bland. It's got a little bit of sugary sweetness to it, and then as it's starting to warm up, I'd say it has just a very light very terribly, terribly light caramel presence on it. But this basically was a round, crisp malt to show off all these hops. And what's left of them isn't half bad. I mean, I don't have the flesh of the grapefruit or the juiciness of it, but I have the pith and the rind. You know what I mean? In my drink, I've got a pretty substantial and strong bitter that's come in a little bit sharp to the finish because it needs a little bit more. There should be a little bit more flavor. Some of the flavors faded off, but I'd say this has held up remarkably well and is drinking very enjoyably. There's some nose. There's plenty of flavor. Like if you smell the nose and you think, boy, this is going to be terrible, not taste like anything, no. It actually has a pretty good flavor.
Yeah, I agree with that. Eric?
To tell you the truth, and I think that the aroma of the beer is sort of on the light side, and I think that the aroma had more of a hoppier essence to it than the taste of the beer does. I don't know if it's just my beer. My beer says 4ON. I don't know if that means that it was made in April of this year, but it tastes like some of these hops could have potentially fallen off a little bit. It's got a pretty it's pretty much got the maltiness from the 2-row malt. And you can detect some of the light resin. Go ahead.
Oh, your first digit is a 4?
Yeah.
That's from 2014.
Well, there you go.
Mine's a 5.
Mine's a 5.
Yeah, well, mine says 2014, so I must have a damn old beer. But that might be why I'm noticing some of it tastes more just like a straight up, almost like a little bit of a hoppier amber ale. It doesn't have too much hops in my beer. It's again, you get the 2-row pale malt. You get light citrus notes, light pine. I'm getting that very, 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 very light leather, and just small amounts of the grapefruit and orange flesh. That's about what I'm getting. Mine's might have fallen off on the wayside. And before I shut up, I am getting those cracker biscuit notes as well.
Okay, and I wasn't able to get any code off of my can, but I know these cans came out in 2015 because it's the 40th anniversary commemorative cans, so it can't be from 2014, what I have. So, John, what do you think about the flavor?
You know, I got to agree with what Eric and Maria said. I mean, I got the floral notes, the citrusy notes, the biscuity notes. I mean, it's just all there. I mean, we got to look back at this beer was first made in 1975, so that's pre-craft beer. So you take a look at what we're all sitting here talking about and what we're all sitting here drinking. I mean, these are Cascade hops, 2-row malts. These are beers that was out before basically what we're drinking now considered a craft beer. So I mean, so you got to put this beer right here at what it is. I mean, is it a craft beer or is it just a beer? I mean,
well,
the flavors are there, the notes are there, the hops are there, the malts are there, the yeast is there. I mean, from everything you read, everything you see, everything that I drank back in 2011 was I don't know if it was the first time I drank it. It was the first time I actually started writing beers. A lot of these beers down, but I mean, this is the beer that was pre-craft beer. It's got the same floral notes, the same notes as what we're buying today for a third of the price.
Oh yeah, look, these cans cost me. Let me see, I have it right here. I saved the receipt. The cans were $1.69.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like that price.
Yeah, for a 6-pack, it would be about $8.99.
Yeah, that's what I paid, $8.99 for the 6-pack.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, I think this beer embodies the definition of the word solid, right? It's held up all this time. We're all still basically tasting the basic construct of the IPA. It's got some kind of measurable, discernible high hop presence in it, even though it's not that flashy, right? It's not the flashy elements of the dry hopping, but it's what remained because they use the same type of hops. So anything that was left over is bound to linger better than if they had used different ones, and I like that about this beer. I like that even after 8 months, I mean, it's highly drinkable. There's no part of it that's making me go yuck. It hasn't fallen off to the point where you'd say, well, I'm just going to pour it out. It tastes pretty good.
Right, and I'm getting the sweet white bread. I always say this when I drink these pale ales, like India pale ales, the sweet white bread, a little sugariness, a little fruitiness, like maybe, I want to say apricot, but I don't know if that's right. But
yeah,
I'm not much of a fruit expert. The bitterness to me is not profoundly bitter. Like, to me, the IBUs, they don't say what the IBUs are on the website, but I think they can't be more than, 45?
I was almost going to say low 20s, but maybe I'm too generous.
I was going to say 65.
Whoa!
65.
Maybe 40s, maybe 40s, Jay, yeah. I think Harpoon IPA might be 43 or 5. So
and Harpoon IPA is one of the more old school type IPAs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a good benchmark, yeah.
They don't say it on here, Jay. It just says 5.9%. Also, you got to look at 5.9%. So that's got to be up in the 40s, maybe low 50s, anyways.
Yeah, probably.
Well, yeah, my guess, I'm gonna say 40, but at the most 44. That's my guess. But it's like the Tootsie Roll Pop. The world may never know.
Yeah.
But let me say this to you. Oh, can y'all hear me all right and everything?
Yes, sir.
Let me say this to you. I'm thinking of Dale's Pale Ale. I'm thinking of Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I'm thinking of the Alpha King. I'm thinking of, I don't know, it's making me think of Pale Ales from those that I just named more than an IPA. But, if you drink Dale's Pale Ale, you start to say, this is more of an IPA.
Yes.
So kind of like on the borderline. It's sort of like, you live in Maryland. Are you in the South? Are you in the North? Are you in the South? Are you in the North? You're kind of on the border, so it's kind of like this here.
That's kind of why I said it almost reminds me more of English than more of American kind of hoppy beers, because it's a little bit more subdued, it's a little bit more laid back, and it has more of a fruit, not fruit forward, but it has more of a fruity kind of a flavor to me than that. Yeah,
but it doesn't have any of those earthy notes that the English beers have. English beers have those like cellar mold.
Yeah.
They're kind of funky,
Maybe this beer, and it could have been very well that way in 1975. Maybe this beer's entire thing going on for it is that to try to get the Miller Bud Coors kind of a drinker trying something different, trying to get them to sort of like where beer, what beer could be, where beer could be going.
Yeah.
The sad thing about it is, you're talking about a beer that's been out since 1975.
Mm-hmm.
That is comparable to a lot of the beers that you're paying a lot of money for right now, and people are walking in and overlooking these beers, and I don't really understand why, because these are some great beers that are comparable to the beers that you're paying twice the money for right now, and really not enjoying them.
No, you're right. And to be fair, we're saying 1975.
Yeah.
They're saying on their websites the first modern American IPA, fine, all of that. But now let's remember. There was Ballantine IPA that had been on the market, and it stayed on the market till 1997, and then it was brought back earlier this year. So there was Ballantine IPA. Now, I don't know when that came out, but it was around way before the craft beer revolution got launched. The only problem with Ballantine is that the company went out of business, and then, kind of like Pabst bought it, and then they didn't see much market for their IPA, and it got discoed in '97.
I don't think that the Ballantine IPA even is. I think it's kind of like with the Schlitz Gusto that came out, Nobody has the exact same recipe and knows exactly step by step how that beer was brewed.
But we're just now starting to get the Ballantine IPA around here, and I'm anxious to go get a 6-pack of it, and I've just never made it that way to get it yet.
Yeah, we've got it over there in New Orleans, and it's $8. It's $8.49 for the 6-pack in New Orleans.
Totally recommend it.
That's a powerful IPA. Now that one is 7.2%, I think.
Yes.
So that'll
product.
That'll put you on the love train. You know what I mean? Like if you drink too many of those. But the last question we always ask when we do these examinations is, would you buy this again? So Maria, would you buy Anchor IPA, Anchor Liberty Ale again?
Jay, I'm on the fence. I'm going to take a stand with this beer. If it wasn't for this date, I would buy it again.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, because it's not in plain old date format, because I would have to decipher this, because there's no way for me to know what this means as your average consumer who's checking out the beer. Your typical beer, I'm gonna look at this bottle and I'm gonna go nope, and I'm gonna put it right back. But as me, as a beer drinker, I'd say this is a good purchase. You can leave it sit. You know that this beer that I'm holding didn't sit in a refrigerator for 8 months. It sat on a shelf under bright lights for 8 months. It held up great. So if you're gonna buy beer and be afraid that I've got to drink it right away, you can have a little time with this one. So yes, I would buy it again. So that's why I'm on the fence. I'm yes and I'm no.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if they had a easy date.
It would be better if they had a date. I mean, I always say that either it has a date on it or I leave it there. And I bought this special for our review.
Yeah, right. John, I'm sorry, Eric, would you buy this again?
Gotta put the date on the bottle, guys. That's what I always say. But enough of Greg's beer reviews.
He's right about that, though. He's right about that.
Really right about that.
Why is it hard to put a date? I mean, why is that difficult?
Yeah, I'm going to go and say a similar thing that Maria said about the date, for the sole reason of I'm going into this beer examination, not a review. I'm going into this examination thinking, because I have not had this beer in probably a year and a half, I guess. So I'm going into this beer review thinking that I'm going to try an American Pale Ale, American Style IPA. That's got to be pretty good, right? It's a well-known brewery. It's got to have a lot of zing and zazz and, stars and stripes, just like its Anchor Steam and like the old Foghorn does. And, for that style of American IPA and Pale Ale, I probably wouldn't buy the beer again based on it being that style, because to me at least it just doesn't have enough of those kind of pale ale hopped flavors for me. And again, it could be because mine has a number 4 on it, which could have been 2014. But again, I have no problem drinking this beer, and I wouldn't pass it up if I was looking for a quality beer at a good price. It's easy to drink. It's very, very, very smooth. So I'm on the fence as Maria is.
Okay, so that's not too positive, but that's okay because no one's obligated to.
I mean, if I'm looking at the beer as an American Pale Ale, I would probably pass this one up.
Okay, fine. John?
Now, I guess, you know me, I got to be that different guy. I'm going to say, I'm going to go back on what a little bit of Marie and Eric said. With the date code on it, I think if you really worried about the date code, you'd sit there and, in front of the beer at your package store and you'd Google what you thought the date code was. Do I worry about date code on beer? No, I don't. Because sometimes I think the older the beer, the better it's going to get. I think they put hops in beers back years ago on the Mayflower to make the beer preserve itself. 65% of America, when they walk in to buy this beer, they're not going to look at a date code on the back of it because they want to buy the beer for what it is. And I'm going to tell you, am I going to buy this beer again for what it cost me in my area? No, because I give $13.85 a 6-pack for this.
Holy moly.
I think the beer's a phenomenal beer, but for the price point of this beer, I probably wouldn't buy it again.
Now, what if you lived around here and you could get it for $8.99 a six-pack?
I'd buy it.
Yeah, I can't believe you have to pay that much. Now, I would buy it again.
Difference.
I would buy it again, and I know I will buy it again. I mean, you know, if I'm, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but let's presume I'm alive 20 years from now. I'm sure I'll buy it many times in the future. But I would like to also get the Breckles Brown. I can't find the Breckles Brown, and I wanted to get the that's a wonderful brown ale, and I wanted to get the Anchor. What? No, there's one from Sierra Nevada, the Tumbler. I want to find the Tumbler.
Tumbler is really good. You'll like that.
I've had it before. It's driving me crazy. Not being able to
Anchor
find it.
makes one I'd like to try. It's called Big Autumn Maple.
Ah, yes, but it doesn't taste very mapley, but it is a delicious beer. I've had it. It tastes like they put 1 drop of maple syrup in each vat. So
Okay.
if you're looking for maple, I don't know if you're going to like it, but it's a beautiful reddish beer. I was in a store today and I saw that the Coors truck delivered a huge amount of a lot of array of new varieties of beers. The new Samuel Adams variety pack for Christmas season has the Old Fezziwig. There's a new one called Golden Sparkling Ale. They have their chocolate porter. I said, oh.
Yeah, they still got those 3 freaking Sam Adams Boston Lagers they're going to shove in every freaking variety pack.
It had the Samuel Adams Boston Lager, of course.
It's all seasonal.
You have to buy that. And it had then the Samuel Adams White Christmas showed up, and the Winter Lager showed up, and then a new one called Traveler, Curious Traveler Winter Shandy showed up. Well, you know, that's Boston Brewing Company also.
See how much Boston Brew Company was losing.
But yeah, they're slightly, and I'm from that area where they brew.
I think most of their money is made with their off the wall type beers today. But anyway, we don't want to get into too much. We've already been on here 30 minutes. So next week, let me get my calendar book.
Bigfoot.
We have some exciting beers coming up, folks. But the problem with these exciting beers is a lot of people can't find them. Paul, who does examinations with us, called me today. I can't find the beer. I can't find Liberty Ale. That had me worried. He was worried. Now, next week is Sierra Nevada Bigfoot.
Got some aging right now.
Yeah, me too.
Last year.
Yeah, that's one to age, right?
2013.
The week after that, we're looking at Guinness Nitro IPA. Talking about English style. Eric was bringing that up.
Yes.
On November 25th, the day before Thanksgiving. I'm sure no one's got anything to do. Just joking. But I'll be available. But we have North Coast Old Stock Ale.
That's going to be fun.
That's going to be fun because I think you're going to see a variety of years in that.
Yeah, and then December 2nd, we got Presidente from Dominican Republic. Well, I'll say this. I sure am glad Maria could join us.
Cheers to that. Cheers, Maria.
Maria, it's
All of you. I'm glad I got to join you tonight, too. I'm going to try and join you again.
It's always fun to have you, Maria, and I hope I wasn't the Debbie Downer by saying that I don't think that a lot of people look at the date code on it, which a lot of people should. But if you go on, I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand what the date code is unless you're people like us.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree. I agree totally.
I tend to look at the date code. I'm a little bit of a neurotic about that. Like John, they had the a beer that you and I were talking about, and I found a 40-ounce brown bottle of it, and I said, "Ooh, let me buy it." And then I saw the date, and I said, "No, thanks."
Yeah.
But because it was like a month past the Best Buy date, but I said, "Oh well, I'll wait till the next cycle and get some more fresh." But well, thanks a lot, Maria, of course, and Eric, and John, and so we got some exciting things coming up, and then we are, just to let the audience know, we are going to be looking at some light beers coming up, and people may be torn, you know, not too happy with that, but we're looking at, they exist, people drink them, we're looking at, oh my goodness, Miller Lite, and Busch Light, and a whole bunch of other light beers, but you go into these grocery stores and they have a whole wall full of Michelob Ultra. You know that's the truth.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, and that those Michelob Ultras, from what I've been seeing, I mean, of course we've all got 2 ton of friends on Facebook, but if you're at a sporting event, I mean that's what they're drinking. I mean, look, Michelob Ultra.
My grandfather drinks.
Oh my goodness! If you go to any golf course in America.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, folks, and y'all have a good night and a safe week, and see you soon.
Keep checking those dates on the bottles, guys.
Yeah, I really do that. Okay, thank you.